The sound of sleigh bells can only mean one thing. The end of the year is nigh. And that means there are probably a few things that you want to consider doing before the year wraps up with your business. And we're going to talk about 3 of those in this video. Stick around. Hey out there, welcome back to the Wedding Industry Law. My name is Rob, aka Santa Claus, a wedding industry attorney representing wedding industry professionals. And in this video, we're talking about 3 things that you might want to consider doing for your wedding business before the end of the year during that happy holiday season when you might have some downtime. The first thing that we might consider doing, might consider best recommendations, is to do a contract audit of your contracts. So what is a contract audit? A contract audit is simply dusting off your contract. So for example, your client contract. Think about the past 12 months. Have you received any pushback consistently, on a consistent basis, on any term in your contract? So for example, are people scribbling out your indemnification clause? Are people getting mad about your payment policy in terms of when the payments are due, for example? Are you consistently getting emails to have you explain any of the clauses? If that is in fact the case, then what you want to do is perhaps either add, delete, or modify the wordings of your contract in order to minimize that pushback, minimize the time it takes for you to explain these things. So that is a contract audit. So I highly recommend that you do that for your client contract. If you've got employees and they're under a contract, do employee contracts, your independent contractor agreements. Think about the things that have happened in the past 12 months. Perhaps think about projects that are coming down the line. So for example, maybe if you're looking at your independent contractor agreements, are you going to have your independent contractor draw up some content for your website, or perhaps help produce an ebook for your company? Well, then there's going to be some issues with intellectual property or copyright. Is that addressed in your independent contractor agreement? Audit it, add stuff, detract stuff. So just think about the pain points, think about the pressure points with clients or with anyone else that you're contractually obligated to, or think about some things that are upcoming and try to figure out whether or not these things are addressed in your contract, or if they are addressed sufficiently. Contract audits. Another concept within this idea of contract audits is to review the contracts that you have executed with third parties. So for example, if you have a subscription service like with Canva or whatever the case is, look over those. Are you wanting to get out of them? If it's maybe a cell phone service or a VoIP service or some type of website developer 2-year contract or whatever, you want to review those, because oftentimes if you do want to get out of them, by way of example, you're going to need to follow some type of notice requirement a lot of times. And so at the end of the year, these are going to be the things that you want to look at, you want to contract audits. That's the first thing that I would think about as a business owner during this downtime of the holidays. Number 2 thing is, at the end of the year, is to figure out whether or not your company, that is your LLC or your corporation, is required to have an annual meeting. And if so, go ahead and have that annual meeting. And so what that means is that oftentimes buried in the language of our operating agreement or our bylaws, if we're a corporation, is the obligation for the ownership or the managers or the board of directors to have annual meetings to discuss typical business stuff, how the business is run, whether or not, anything needs to be changed, this type of thing. All that typically has to be done on an annual basis under these documents. And the reason why this is important to go ahead and do this, or to do this, you have to make sure that you have to make sure it gets done. In other words, is because we want to make sure that we keep up with the concept of the corporation or the LLC, that in fact, it's not just us doing our thing. We want to separate ourselves as the owners of the business from the business. And how we do that is keep up with those bureaucratic legal fictions. annual meetings, separate bank accounts. So having these meetings, doing these type of corporate red tape type situations is a way to make sure that no one pierces the corporate veil. So read that bylaw, read that operating agreement, and make sure that you have your annual meetings, whether it's for the owners, the managers, the board of directors, whatever the case may be. Go ahead and get that knocked out of the way before the end of the year. To do at the end of the year is to make sure that if your business has undergone any changes, to update that situation with the Secretary of State in which you are operating. So for example, if you've changed physical address, if you've changed registered agent, if your business name has changed, these are the type of things that you want to make sure get updated with the Secretary of State. And what better time to do those than when you have the downtime during the holiday season. So again, to kind of sum up, contract audit, very important, probably the most important if you ask me, but you always want to make sure that your contracts are up to date with how you're running things and really responsive to the needs of your clients. With regard to client contract, it's responsive to the needs of the clients and minimizes the tug of war between you and the clients. Then you got your annual meetings. Make sure that you read your bylaws, make sure that you read your operating agreements to make sure that you are taking care of those formalities. And then finally, make sure that you're updating the Secretary of State with any type of name changes, physical address changes. One more bonus for the money is if you are in the habit of texting clients or WhatsApping clients, critical information. So if you have amended your contract through text or WhatsApp, if you have maybe billed people through that, anything that might have a truly legal significance, now is the time to make sure that that information gets screenshot or somehow gets uploaded to the cloud or whatever your information database is. So that way, if your phone falls into the toilet, if it gets run over by Santa, then you have it backed up. So again, this is an instance or a time in which you can do these kind of tedious tasks, but they're super important because like I said, if your phone ever gets run over by a reindeer, you at least have that critical information saved to the client's file in the cloud somewhere. So that's a bonus task that you can take care of as a business owner at the end of the year. I hope that you found this video informative. I hope that you are having a happy holiday season and that you have a fantastic new year. New videos from Wedding Industry Law come out every Monday. Actually, I think we'll be taking a break. No new video on the 27th of December. No new video, I think the first week of January, and we'll be back on January 10th. Actually, I know we will be back on January 10th because we will have an awesome video talking about how to fight chargebacks. So going into 2022 swinging, baby, we're going to be fighting chargebacks. With that, folks, as always, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or comments. Leave a comment down below on the YouTube channel. Be sure to check us out if you like podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from. And with that, we'll see you in 2022. Happy New Year, y'all.